Hi there, my name is Blake, and I am talking about United Nations and human rights. And so, although the entire paradigm the United Nations uses is based off of outdated epistemological assumptions from Enlightenment style thinking, it should be said that it serves an important purpose in unifying a practical and implementable human rights campaign. The consequences of this campaign have been somewhat beneficial in that certain groups who are abused by tyrannical or oppressive governments have been assisted. But there should be relativism around these human rights norms. But relativism or universalism leaves this material practicality that can uplift oppressed or subordinated groups. And so, because moral universalism provides these benefits, it is worthwhile focusing on this side of the argument around what paradigms should be implemented. And so, as someone who utilizes post-structuralism and postmodernism in my methodology, I must highlight that it is important to know where the narrative came from and how it has been maintained through power. And so moral universalism originates from the classical Greek philosophy, but most people and most people point to the Enlightenment period with Lockean Hobbesian abstraction of natural law and the Leviathan as examples of where this type of idea around morality originated from. And so, the system of knowledge has been privileged and preserved over the millenniums because of the European hegemon. But because many contemporary global institutions throughout the 20th century were developed in Europe and America, and because they had power over policy and the economy, and already disadvantaged much of the nations that were once colonies or territories of these Western imperial powers, because of all of this, the West had power over the narratives. And so, perhaps because of the Western influence and assimilation throughout the world, it seems almost appropriate to maintain these set of moral values that were to become set into absolute knowledge through majority consensus. And so, because liberalism had proved to uplift much of the oppression of marginalized individuals throughout much of the West, examples being women's rights or African Americans' rights or certain queer rights as well. Because of this, it's kind of created a certain criterion of how freedom is to be operationalized. And it seems almost appropriate to allow for this liberal or natural law ideas into the dominant paradigm to understand human rights so that we can implement this on a more global scale. And so I guess setting a norm like human rights has been beneficial overall in materialistically advantaging groups who are victims of oppression. And so I guess without the UN, we may not have seen the progress in reducing human suffering on a global scale. And so, in that sense, it seems appropriate to say that the United Nations should continue to uphold this paradigm of moral universalism rather than uphold relativism, even though relativism seems more appropriate when it comes to understanding culture and conflict between intercultural groups and things such as that. Anyways, thank you very much for listening, and I hope y'all have a good winter break.